Citizens, children of the night, bearers of the day, torch scorched and burned, burn not, the dam is broken, the curse is fled. Once muddied and still, the river runs red. All those ships that never sailed, the ones with their seacocks open that lie scuttled in their stalls, today I bring them back, huge and intransitory, and let them sail forever if ever there were currents uncurrent. The wind cannot stir if it suits currency. Currently moon-marked and sun-sparked, unmarked bills, will I am certain I speak a new language, as is always the first sign of a new age. I'd begun to believe my blackened toenails were on path to decay, when in truth they had begun the gradual process of crystallization. I am he who walks on wind-scorn feet with toenails of amethyst and rose quartz, my path now crystal clear. I am come to tell you she is here. It is not written. No penman's ship was ever cargoed with her character. Notebooks are carefully folded forests, void of autumn bound from the sun. Likewise, she made a residence on the outskirts of history, on the dark side of the moon where the searchlight of the sun could not spot her nor rot her, the seed of forbidden fruit. Every tree has a hidden root, yet she has come to light, the swelling Patrick of vibrant dreams, and to think of the girlfriend I was tempted to break up with because she slept too much. I now know they nurtured her there. They slept in packs, dreamt in cycles, nursed her in shifts, and became her on rotation. Unnamed every time she was named, that she would not be known even unto herself. Undressed every time she was dressed, that she would not be recognized anyone other than herself. They blindfolded her and spun her in circles, that she would find her way here with no other means than her intuition, and she has come. I am a simple, disoriented man in her presence. I wear my loincloth over my eyes and ejaculate too soon. Forgive me, Father, if I have sinned. I prayed to you and cupped the wind that in doing so barred her entry into a century, 100 years of solitude. I will now pray with my hands outstretched with these psalms etched into my palms. Most beloved, I am certain of nothing more than your existence. 1,000 ants clung under a log may find themselves exposed to my childlike search for you. My collie, flower. I'm eternally destroyed by your love. No longer am I eligible for any workers' pension. My friends laugh at me and talk behind my back. They say that you've changed me, and I am. I'm like a survivor of the flood, walking through the streets, drenched with God, surprised all the drowned victims are still walking and talking. Maybe there's hope. I rush to each victim's side, sucking what I can of you out of your various incarnations, pumping their stomachs and filling them. To touch them is to touch you, to kiss them is to kiss you. My friends, love is an art form slightly removed from its element. And one may ask, well, what does this mean? I respond, I've made it up, but it shall be from now on. From now on, cities will be built on one side of the street so that soothsayers will have wilderness to wander and lovers space enough to contemplate a kiss. She kisses if she alone could forge a signature of the sun. I closed my eyes, although I never knew the difference. I stood before a brighter light, at lesser distance, and then a feeling, almost as if nothing were ever bound to be repeated ever again, as if history had been as masterfully created as the great pyramids, and to reconstruct or relive any given moment after stem from an understanding of how the pyramids are built from the top down. And if one can understand such majesty, one would also understand that pyramids are first made of flesh, and that kisses are portals, our sacred breath shifting through hidden corrals and passageways. I will find my way to eternity within you, when I can feel you breathing into me. I, like a stone gargoyle atop some crumbling building, spring to life, resuscitated angel. I sweep through city streets, my wings outstretched, making mothers clutch their young. And remember, and do you remember, dear ones, or has your history forsaken you? There are mysteries coded in song, chants sung round fires, all incantations calling forth this day. On this day, the drunks vomit in unison the last night they drank from different cups. Children laugh and play, introducing their parents' invisible friends. A country girl smiles and two trees blossom out of season. Sea suns awaken, our mother has returned, the wafers of uncertainty, one's title. Twice born of wooden ships, thrice formed to mother's hips, mother's ships, case tulips, a poet's garden. 2 for 5, the going fast, the future's bargain. That change I heard my name, the river's parting. Hurry up, things bury up, the sun is darkened. Rivers like oceans, oceans like answers, questions in cloud forms, raindrops and stanzas. To be or not to see or not to. She had eyes like 2 turntables, mixed in between. My dreams and reality blend in ancient themes. The basis of ISIS, cross-faded to Ankh. The beat drops like a cliff, overlooking my heart. 6,000 feet above sea level. 3,300 bodies disassembled. The head bones connected to the cockpit, knee-jerk, ass backwards, dancing slaves in a mosh pit, punk rock of Gibraltar roll out, nothing's new, no blood dyes the mohawk, only this time it's you, and you never loved her for what she possessed. You powdered her face and came on her headdress, oil slick feathers, putrid stench waterbed, Mother Nature's a whore, said the shotgun to the head, and it smelt like teen spirit, angst-driven, insecure, a country in puberty, a country at war. The greatest Americans have not been born yet. They are waiting patiently for the past to die. Please give blood. Those crumbled tablets were to share a story with a burning bush. Where is that voice from nowhere to remind us that the holy ground we walk on, purified by native blood, has rooted trees whose fallen leaves now color-code a sacred list of demands? Who among us can give translation of autumn hues to morning news? The anchor man thrown overboard has simply rooted us in history's repeating cycle. A nation in its Saturn years that won't acknowledge karma. Where is that voice from nowhere, the ones your prophet spoke of? I hear voices of fear, disconnected from their diaphragms, dangling from coffee-covered teeth that spill into our laps and scorch our privates. There are voices from the sides of necks, some already noosed, dangling participles, pronouns running for sentence, serving life in corner offices and ghetto corners. Their voices are the same, dead to themselves, numb to the possibility of truth existing beyond that which they can palm in their hands, period. There are voices of elders, which seem to do no more than damage to our childish ways. For many households, wisdom no longer comes with age. So where is that voice from nowhere? That burning bush, that passing dove. I hear the voices of generals calling for ammunition, presidents calling for arms, and women calling for help. Where is that voice from nowhere? That God of Abraham. Can he be heard over the gunfire, the whiz of passing missiles, the cries of children, the crash of missiles, the crack of bones, or is that his mighty voice? Your angry God craving the sacrifice of virgin generation's sons degenerate. Your holy books written in red ink on burning sands. Your prayers between rounds to no more than fasten the fate of your children to the hammered truth of your trigger. A truth that mushrooms its darkened cloud of the rest of us so that we too bear witness to the short-lived fate of a civilization that worships a male God. Your weapons are phallic. All of them. That dummy that sits in your lap is no longer a worthwhile spectacle. His shrunken pale face is your room for imagination. We have spotted moving lips and pinned the voice to its proper source. It is a source of madness, a source of hunger for power, a source of weakness, a source of evil. We are exiting your coliseum and encircling your box office, demanding our families back, our culture back, our language back, our gods back. So we return them to the proper source, the source of life, the source of creation, our mother's womb, the great goddess. We will cut through the barbed wire hangers and chastity belts. We will climb in and incubate our spirits through the winter. We will wait for the degenerate course of your repeated history. We will wait for the past to die. President of Archaeological Indifference, Vice President of Truth, Secretary of Statistics, Minister of Celebrity Injustice, Chief of Staff and Serpent, Blessed Page Turner of the Great Book of Misdeeds and Overestimations, Bishop of the Great Climate War, Minister of the Deteriorating Sky, Baron of epic boredom and self-indulgence, all gathered notables. Good evening. Recently, I've been, hello, everyone. Recently, I've been, I've been thinking a lot about technology, and been studying a lot about our relationship to it, and the changes that it affects and the changes that it doesn't necessarily affect, and what is technology except a reflection of our own awareness and consciousness. And I've been thinking, about stuff like the coltan that's in our phones and laptops that's mined in Central Africa and places like the Congo, Rwanda, Burundi. I think of the analog exploitation that our digital advances are based on. And it's important that we don't talk about these things. It's important that we don't talk about the fact that the overwhelming majority of mining companies that work on the continent of Africa are actually based in this city of Toronto. And it's important we don't talk about that. Let's not talk about that. And I've been thinking about the role of fear in technology, because we were talking about this earlier. I don't know if you know that the word robot comes from the Czech language, and in fact it means slave or free labor. That's what the word robot means, is slave or free labor in the Czech language. And I was thinking about the connection between just the fact that you had the colonial era where you had slave labor and human bodies on this continent, primarily enslaved Africans, right, that were forced to work in plantations, and thinking of the plantation as a machine. And then thinking of the colonial mentality that went into the industrial era, which followed the colonial era, when the machines then could go into the plantations and be responsible for picking, the cotton or the tobacco or the rice or whatever it was, and the machines that were constructed. And if you know engineers or are one, you know that if you take apart those machines, that the colonial mentality is embedded in the machines, because the engineer will explain the machines to you in terms of, well, that part is the master and that's the slave. We see it in the music industry, right? When artists talk about owning their masters, that's because if you look at the old 2-inch tape, you'll see two wheels running, right? And one is called the slave, and the other one is called the master, and the master is the main recording, and the other one just follows it. And it goes all the way up into coding, into computers, if you know anything about, computers and what have you, the 0-1, the whole terminology behind coding is also master-slave. So you could take apart the computer, but you could also go into the coding itself, and still that colonial mentality is embedded in the machines. And the irony and the fact that the fear of the colonial era was that the slaves would learn too much, which is why, teaching a slave to read or write. And I know very well that, people from where I'm from were escaping to places like this. But, we're not delusional enough to think that everything's cool in Canada. I mean, we pay attention to all those missing indigenous women and the whole nine. I mean, we know what the fuck is going on. Nonetheless, all the more I think about, the fact that reading, teaching a slave or enslaved African to read or write was interdit, was something that could not happen. And I think about the Haitian Revolution and how when that happened in 1804, they were not allowed to write about it in United States in those newspapers, because they had fear that maybe some, enslaved Africans could read and would find out what happened and get some ideas about how to defeat the system. And so the fear of the colonial era was that the slaves would learn too much and take over. And the irony is the fact that in this age, in the modern age, the fear is that the robots, the machines, will learn too much and take over. And so I have questions, real simple ones, like, what's new? Hacking the dietary sustenance, tradition versus health. Hacking the comfort, compliance, hacking to the rebellious gene, hacking the doctrine, capitalism in relation to free labor and slavery, hacking to the history of the bankers, beating the odds, mere act of joining the winning team, hacking to desperation and loneliness, the history of community in the marketplace, hacking to land rights and ownership, hacking to business law, proprietorship, hacking to ambition and greed, hacking to forms of government, systems of control, the relation of suffering and sufferance, hacking to faith and morality, the treatment of one faith towards another, hacking to masculinity, femininity, sexuality, what is taught, what is felt, what is learned, what is shared, hacking to God, stories of creation, serpents and eggs, hacking to nature, biodynamics, biodiversity, cycles and seasons, hacking to time, calendars, Descartes, its relationship to doubt, is a wire to fear, the notion of control, the space-time continuum, the force of gravity, whether the opposite of gravity is freedom. Hacking to freedom, power, responsibility, justice, the Bill of Rights, hacking to coincidence, the summer of '68, the 27 Club, the number of people with Facebook profiles, people choose to share, people share too much, people seem lonely, people want to connect, people want to uplift, people need uplifting, hacking to self-help, self-sufficiency, and self-indulgence, hacking to crazy, hacking to lunatic, hacking to star, hacking to infamous, notorious, the effects of the construct of poverty on the psyche, the effects of the construct of race, the victims that survive. There is a panel marked survival, 3 simple copper wires coiled round an orb, hacking to orbit, equatorial landmines, useful and precious metals, coltan as cotton, hacking to hazardous, nuclear, blue clear, cloud foams and fish farms, cow farts and pig shit, hacking to horse, industrial, digital, hacking to code, use your instrument as metaphor, harness your craft, hacking to the mainframe, dismantle definition, dogma and duty, hacking to destiny, hacking to dream, subtext and subconscious, hacking to heart, cardio, Congo, blood-rich and oil, hacking to suffering and despair, hacking to the unfair advantage of those lucky enough to be born into one family or another, into one condition or another, hacking to the circumstantial evidence that proves the obvious and wakes the oblivious, hacking to birthright, bloodlines, royal and tainted, hacking to superstition, old wives' tales, the rituals of the shaman, hacking to DNA, chemistry, the pharmaceutical industry, the modern-day rape of the forest, hacking to the coiling serpents, the time it takes for modern men to determine whether ancient women were foolish or not, hacking to the database, hacking to the subconscious, a panel marked survival, hacking to celebrity, hacking to the cultural development of taste, hacking to violence, fear, and ignorance. How are they linked? Whereas break beats have been the missing link connecting the diasporic community to its drum-woven past. Whereas the quantized drum has allowed the whirling mathematicians to calculate the ever-changing distance between rock and stardom. Whereas the velocity of spinning vinyl, cross-faded, spun backwards, and re-released at the same given moment of recorded history, yet at a different moment in time's continuum, has allowed history to catch up with the present. We do hereby declare reality unkept by the changing standards of dialogue. Statements such as, keep it real, especially when punctuating or anticipating modes of ultraviolence inflicted psychologically or physically, will henceforth be seen as retroactive and not representative of the individually determined is. Furthermore, as determined by collective state of being in this, hold on. I'm trying to remember this poem. I had the idea, like, I want to read that. And they were like, do you remember that? No judges for me. Except all of you. You know, I will say this. I want to say just something about this event, because I feel somewhat related to the fact that shit like this is going on. And of course, I am related to that. And I'm very excited about it, as I've had the opportunity to see and experience slam finals in dozens of countries and cities and what have you, and it's always exhilarating on one end, right? On one hand, just because I remember when we used to have to explain what a slam was, And now a lot of people learn about that in school. And that was part of the goal, was to provide tools essentially for teachers to realize that they could break away from the curriculum that was being given them and maybe deal with some living poets and inspire young people with words that were connected to all that was happening now, and to empower young people to speak truth to power and to question authority and to continue to question authority, right? And to work through all the trials and travails that we go through in our individual lives, how to deal with trauma and how to work our way through that, and to maybe help provide a platform for that. And I'm grateful for all of the people that have dedicated their lives at this point to poetry and to culture, and the connection is beautiful because, like I said, I've seen this in so many different places and in so many different languages, so to speak, and the voices and the poets are always new, and it's something at this point where now we have to be careful of it becoming like, things becoming cliche within it, which was never the case before now, but now it's like, when I first started reading poems, and it wasn't at a slam because I didn't know what a slam was, I was at an open mic, and I started writing poems because I was upset at how cliche the poet sounded. And I was like, either I can just critique it all night or I can try to write an example, because it just didn't make sense to me that this was in the 90s at the time, and I was hearing people that sounded like the 60s or 70s, and they were doing these poems very influenced by like poets like Nikki Giovanni and Sonia Sanchez and Joy Harjo, and it had that sound that was just like, poetry is one thing that we can learn. And I would just be like, yo, I grew up on hip hop. This shit is crazy. What? and so I started, well, actually, I'll recite the first poem, if I remember it, that I wrote for that, in response to that, and then I'll go back to that one and see if I remember that. It goes like this. Time is money, money. Nah, I don't want to do that one. I want to do this. Hold up. I'm like, rewind, selector. Woo, okay. I stand on a corner of the block slinging the amethyst rocks. Drinking 40 to Mother Earth's private nectar, stop dodging cops. As 5-0 be the 666, and I need to fix it, that purple rain. Type of shit that drives membranes insane. Oh yeah, I'm in the fast lane, snorting candy yams that free my body and soul and send me like Shazam. Never question who I am. God knows, and I know God personally. In fact, he lets me call him me. I be one with rain and stars and things, with dancing feet and watermelon wings. I brings the sunshine and the moon, and the wind blows my tune. Meanwhile, I spoon powdered drum beats in the plastic bags, selling kilos of kente skag, taking drags off of collards and cornbread, freebaits into saxophones and flutes like mad. The high notes make me space float. I be exhaling in rings that circle Saturn, leaving stains in my veins and astrological patterns. Yeah, I'm serious, B. Doggone niggas plotted shit lovely, but the feds is also plotting me. They're trying to imprison my astrology, put my stars behind bars, my stars in stripes, using blood-splattered banners as nationalist kites. But I control the wind, that's why they call it the hawk. I am Horus, son of Isis, son of Osiris, worships as Jesus, resurrected like Lazarus. But you call me lazy? Yes, I'm lazy because I'd rather work and plow a field, worshiping a daily yield of cash green crops. Your evolution stopped the evolution of your technology. A society of automatic tellers and money machines. Nigga, what? My culture is lima beans and tambourines, dreams, manifest dreams real, not consistent with rationale. I dance for no reason, for reason you can't dance, caught in the enactedness of intellectualized circumstance. You can't learn my steps until you unlearn your thoughts. Spirit, soul can't be store-bought. Fuck thought. It leads to naught, simply stated, leads to you trying to figure me out. Your intellect is figuring your soul. Your being's not whole. Check your flagpole, stars and stripes. Your astrology is imprisoned by your concept of white, of self, what your plan for spiritual health, calling reality unreal. Your line of thought is tangled. The star spangled got your soul mangled. Your being's angled, forbidding you to be real and feel. You can't find truth with an axe or a jill in a white house on a hill and in factories of plants made of steel. Stealing us was the smartest thing you ever did. Too bad you don't teach the truth to your kids. My influence on you's the reflection you see when you look into your menstrual mirror and talk about your culture. Your existence is that of a schizophrenic vulture that thinks there's enough life in him to prey on the dead, not realizing that the dead ain't dead and he ain't got enough spirituality to know how to pray. Yeah, it's no repentance. You're about to live an infinite, consecutive, executive life sentence. So while you're out busy serving time, I'll be in sync with the moon while you run from the sun. Life of the womb reflected by guns. Worship of moons, I am the sun, and I am public enemy number one. Thus, in the name of Robeson, Godson, Hurston, Akhenaten, Hatshepsut, Blackfoot, Helen, Lennon, Kahlo, Kali, Three Marias, Tara, Lilith, Lord, Whitman, Baldwin, Ginsburg, Kaufman, Lumumba, Gandhi, Gibran, Shabazz, Siddhartha, Medusa, Guevara, Gurdjieff, Rand, Wright, Banneker, Tubman, Hamer, Holiday, Davis, Coltrane, Morrison, Joplin, Du Bois, Clark, Shakespeare, Rachmaninoff, Ellington, Carter, Gay, Hathaway, Hendricks, Cootie, Dickinson, Ripperton, Mary, Isis, Teresa, Hansberry, Tesla, Plath, Rumi, Fellini, Michaud, Nostradamus, Nefertiti, Laroque, Shiva, Ganesha, Yemaya, Oshun, Obatala, Ogun, Kennedy, King, Four Little Girls, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Keller, Biko, Marley, Magdalene, Shakur, those who burn, those still aflame, and the countless unnamed. We claim the present as the present, as the hereafter. We are unraveling our navels that we may ingest the sun. We are not afraid of the darkness. We trust that the moon shall guide us. We are determining the future at this very moment. We know that the heart is a philosopher's stone. Our music is our alchemy. We stand as a manifested equivalent of 3 buckets of water and a handful of minerals, thus realizing that those very buckets turned upside down supply the percussive factor of forever. If you must count to keep the beat, then count. Find your mantra and awaken your subconscious. Carve your circles counterclockwise. Use your cipher to decipher. Coded language, man-made laws, climb waterfalls and trees, commune with nature, snakes and bees. Let your children name themselves and claim themselves as the new day. For today, we are determined to be channelers of these changing frequencies into songs, paintings, writings, dance, drama, photography, carpentry, crafts, love, and love. We enlist every instrument, acoustic, electronic, every so-called gender, race, sexual orientation, every person as beings of sound to acknowledge the responsibility to uplift the consciousness of the entire fucking world. Thank you all very much. My love to all of the poets and to all of you. Thank you.
Let's keep it going for Saul Williams!